All right, so got an update here into the investigation into uh, former WWE CEO Vince McMahon. And look, where's this wall to wall eye in the sky, number five on the Dow coverage when it comes to this particular case? Because this was disgusting. And Janelle Grant wasn't the only woman who was subjected to Vince McMahon's demands and stuff like that, right? So came across this article, and a lot of other wrestling outlets has reported on this. So Janelle Grant, who is currently suing the former WWE chairman and CEO, is pausing her lawsuit at the request of the DOJ. Um, In the release, it says Ms. Grant has consented to a request by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York to stay her case against Mr. McMahon, WWE, and John Laurinaitis, pursuant to a pending non-public investigation. This is Ann Callis, a lawyer for Grant, said in a statement to ABC News. They also reported that Vince McMahon was the subject of a federal investigation back in February. Now, the investigation stems from sexual misconduct accusations against McMahon by a number of women. Sometime in the summer, McMahon received a grand jury subpoena, referring to the summer of 2023. A Justice Department lawyer who works in the Southern District of New York filed 4 items under the seal in the civil case against McMahon brought by Grant. It is unclear what these items say. Now, the 78-year-old announced in January, shortly after the lawsuit was filed, that he would step away from his role as TKO executive chairman and leave his spot on the board of directors. TKO Group Holdings was formed when WWE merged with Endeavor's Ultimate Fighting Championship in April 2023. So the feds is now looking. They're watching. And the only beef I got with this is not nearly as publicized as the whole situation with Diddy. It seemed like every day there's a drip campaign of information coming out against Diddy, right? But I will also argue there's been a drip campaign against Vince McMahon. There's all there's been a number of women who have came out and spoken up against Vince McMahon, but it got ignored. It got brushed to the side. It got, for whatever reason, it didn't get the same traction as the P. Diddy allegations and all that. And we all know why. I mean, if you have to be a damn hermit crab to not understand what the fuck is going on in society. Vince McMahon is considered one of the elite. So Vince McMahon is going to get the kind of protection that the elite gets. Diddy is not one of the elite. He might have the money of the elite, but he don't have the same protections as the elite. So of course, the powers that be that dangle him out there as a puppet is going to cut the strings and they're going to leave him out to dry. Because at the end of the day, when you stop making these white supremacists money, is the day they turn their back on you. Vince McMahon is part of the elite. He's going to get the protections of the elite, just like Donald Trump is one of the elite, and he's going to get the protection of the elite. Now, and I'm gonna talk about this in a future video, but I want to give you a preview, right? Put this in your brain cells and let it marinate. The same people that make the laws, right? The same skin tone that create these laws and make the laws, all of a sudden now have a problem with the same laws they created. Because now when the same laws that they created is holding them to account, then it's rigged, then it's the system's out to get me. This all I'm the victim here. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. There's no way that all these women came out against Vince McMahon. And if you saw any of the Raw and SmackDown episodes from back in the day, you could clearly see that there was something going on. Because the stuff that was going on in front of the camera, I can guarantee you it was 10 times worse behind the scenes. So whoever takes this case, whether it be Letitia James herself or whoever, the more digging you're going to do in this thing is when you're going to find a lot of stuff. The start and stop pushes, especially within the women's division, right? Especially when it comes to some of these women who had no business being champions. Because of their lack of wrestling ability. But Vince McMahon, seeing these women as eye candy, will give them the push. And then when he is done with them, then they lose the belt and then they get cast off like they are pieces of trash. Because, and this man, whimsical persona, he treats them like gum. You know, when you put a gum in your mouth and, you're chewing on that gum for a little bit, when you first put that gum in your mouth, that gum has flavor, right? It's very enticing and it's very intoxicating and it's very attractive. And then eventually that gum loses flavor. And then eventually that gum has no flavor. And then eventually you're going to take that same gum that just a few minutes ago that had flavor, that now has no flavor, and you're going to throw it in the trash. And that's how Vince McMahon was treating these women under his watch in WWE. So you got hush money, you got NDAs, and that's another reason why you haven't heard a whole lot of people really come out and say what they say against Vince McMahon because of the NDAs that they signed. Now, mind you, there's a lot of people that has not signed NDAs or non-disclosure agreements. But as I stated before, when you had a lot of women came out and make their allegations against Vince McMahon, it was met with resistance, or I don't believe you, or you're just doing this because you don't have any more money, or you're just doing this because you got ulterior motives yourself. You're just trying to bring down Vince McMahon. Instead of looking at the scope of what happened, you had people make excuses for it. You had people defending Vince McMahon. You had people not believing the women that came out. I mean, whatever happened to believe all women? right? Or whatever happened to looking at the facts of the allegations before we come out and say something about it? But no, that only gets applied to black people, right? This man is a devil, okay? This man literally held people's career in the palm of his hands. And if you had people out there that was, pretty much had that was under the thumb of Vince McMahon, and they didn't do what he said, if they didn't bend to his every nonsensical whims, then they were done. They were done. They were done for. They're gonna be made to be obscure and irrelevant. So yeah, Vince McMahon was in the business of entertainment. People watch wrestling. I know I watch wrestling. I'm not gonna sit here and say I didn't, because I know I watched WWE for pretty much my whole life. There's probably like a 2-3 year stretch where I didn't watch it because I thought it was, I thought the content was horrific. But when you look at the bra and panties matches, the evening gown matches, the matches where they were in when they were wrestling in mud and all that, you think that's some kind of coincidence? That was to satisfy this man's self-serving ego. The one night, I think it was the King of the Ring with Sable, where when she undressed herself and then she literally showed her titties, but the nipples was covered with black paint with two hands on her breast. You think all that's a coincidence? Women get wrestling in skimpy outfits and all that stuff. You think that's a coincidence? Where they showing cleavage and all that? You really think that's a coincidence? There was a segment on Raw where you had Edge and Lita literally about to get bucket naked in the bed in the middle of a wrestling ring after Edge won the WWE Championship from John Cena. And behind the scenes, Lita was very uncomfortable with it. Edge and John Cena was uncomfortable with it. They tried to convince Vince McMahon to stop that segment, and he dug in his heels and told them to go do the segment. So when you think about all the segments that you see or that you saw on Raw and SmackDown, and like I say, this stuff was 10 times worse behind the scenes. I can only imagine whenever the DOJ goes in to do the investigation, they're going to find a lot more sinister stuff. Shouts out to the Illuminegro enlightened minority in the building. I salute to you as well, my brother. Appreciate you for tuning in. If this is your first time on the channel, I appreciate it. Thank you. And please consider subscribing if you have not already. And man, I appreciate that. I really do. I really do appreciate the support. But yeah, let's just be honest about the situation. This man is guilty as fuck. Okay? What's up, Rasheed Holmes? Vince McMahon is guilty as fuck. Now, whatever the ulterior motives is that these women have towards Vince McMahon or whatever like that, whatever money they was trying to get, whatever status or notoriety they're trying to get, it still don't discount the fact that this man is a raging predator. He's a predator. You mean to tell me all this money getting paid in hush money? If he didn't do anything wrong, why is he having women sign NDAs and why is he paying women hush money under the table? Make it make sense. If he's this clean, pristine, upstanding citizen that that abide by the rules and he does right by the people that's under his watch, why is he paying people an undisclosed amount of money to keep quiet about a situation? And why is he having these same people sign NDAs if he didn't do nothing wrong? Make it make sense. Same thing with Trump. And I'm going to talk about Trump in another video. So you got Trump out here doing the same things, right? Having people sign NDAs and, paying people hush money and all that, even though he cooked the books. That's why he got found guilty. He ain't did nothing wrong. Why you got to pay people hush money and why you got to have people sign NDAs if you ain't did nothing wrong? Make it make sense. So this is not going to go away. If Vince McMahon think this is going to go away, he is sadly mistaken. If Vince McMahon didn't do anything wrong, here's another question for you, right? For everybody that wants to support and defend Vince McMahon. If Vince McMahon didn't do nothing wrong, why he resigned from TKO? Here's a deeper aspect of this, right? Because you're going to get the analysis here that you're going to get nowhere else, right? Why did he sell the company? If he didn't do anything wrong, then why did he sell the company? Because he knew his butt was in the crack. That's why he sold the company to try to get as much money as he possibly can to cash out. Because at the time these allegations came out, WWE stock was going down the toilet. That's why he sold the company. And as soon as he sold the company to Endeavor, to Ari Emanuel, Ari Emanuel is the brother of Rahm Emanuel, the former Chicago mayor who covered up the murder of Laquan McDonald, but that's another story for another day. He sold the company to keep his wealth. And he sold that stock and he put the provisions in place to keep his wealth. If Vince McMahon didn't do anything wrong, he would still be the owner and CEO of WWE. He would not have this. He would have not had to sell the company. He would have not had to step down as CEO and executive chairman of Endeavor. He ain't had to. If he didn't do anything wrong, the domino effect of actions that Vince McMahon took would have not taken place. Exactly. All these people, all of them are criminals. All of them are criminals. But, they talk about the two-tier justice system. I'm going to talk about that in a different video. I'm going to talk about this two-tier justice system talking point in a different video. So it's only a matter of time before we find out what really happened behind the scenes. Now, as far as non-disclosure agreements go, when you have a non-disclosure agreement, it pretty much you pretty much can't say anything except in the case of a criminal investigation. When there's a criminal investigation, That NDA goes out the window. That's why Janelle Grant came out and said what she said, alleging sex trafficking. Once again, when there's a criminal investigation, non-disclosure agreements go out the window. Because see, had it not been for that, and Janelle Grant came out and said what she said about Vince McMahon, then Vince McMahon could turn around and sue her for violating the NDA. But yeah, man, if he didn't do anything wrong, if there wasn't this hostile working environment, if this wasn't this culture of degenerates that wear suits behind the scenes, there wouldn't be none of the stuff that's going on. And John Laurinaitis is not above reproach. His name was tied up in all this bullshit too. He's sitting up here trying to cover his ass. He's sitting up here trying to play damage control in his own right. That's why he got fired. If his name wasn't tied up in this bullshit, he would have still had a job within WWE. He still probably would have been executive vice president of talent relations. You wouldn't see the massive changes that's going on within WWE right now. His longtime lieutenant, Kevin Dunn, stepping down. Amazingly enough, Bruce Pritchard, aka I Love You, still has a job. Anybody know Bruce Pritchard from back in the day? He was Brother Love. He was the guy that first introduced The Undertaker. It was not goddamn on, well, actually, I take that back. But yeah, Brother Love from back in the day, that's Bruce Pritchard. About to make a mistake, had my timeline all messed up. But anyway, all these changes that you see within WWE now, Triple H and Shawn Michaels pretty much running content for Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Guys that would have gotten pushes under Vince McMahon and not getting the same pushes like Austin Theory. Vince McMahon was trying to make Austin Theory the next John Cena before he had to leave. That's why Roman Reigns made that comment on an episode of Raw saying that your daddy isn't here anymore. Because remember, Austin Theory had the Money in the Bank contract. And he unsuccessfully cashed in that Money in the Bank contract. All these guys that were getting pushes under Vince McMahon, they're not getting the same pushes under Triple H. And this is a result of the domino effect that is taking place all because Vince McMahon couldn't keep his dick in his pants. Why have you ever heard anything from Linda McMahon yet? Now, mind you, when Vince McMahon was on TV and stuff like that, especially back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when the Attitude Era was a thing, and you see Linda McMahon being plastered all over the TV and all that. Now, Linda McMahon tried to run for Senate out in Connecticut. She didn't win her election bid to become a senator out in Connecticut, but she has to know all these women was on Vince McMahon's jockstrap. Why haven't you heard anything from Linda McMahon? And it's been reported that Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon don't even live in the same house. So what does that tell you? That means they're only married in paper only. They haven't officially got divorced. But allegedly, they have not officially got divorced. But you don't see Linda McMahon with Vince McMahon. You have you even seen her in the public? You rarely see Linda McMahon in public. Cause she know her estranged boo thing was out there being a raging sex machine. She had to know. So anyway, once again, the DOJ has asked Janelle Grant to stay her case because she's still suing him. It's not going to go away. She's still looking for her bag. She's still looking for her bag. It's just being put on pause right now while the DOJ is doing some more digging into Vince McMahon, World Wrestling Entertainment, and John Laurinaitis. Another thing to note, Triple H tends to do a lot of bobbing and weaving and ducking when it comes to these type of questions. He tends to do a lot of bobbing and weaving and a lot of ducking when it comes to these type of questions. He don't want to answer these type of questions about what's going on with the investigation and the lawsuits and all that. It's like he is trying to control the narrative. He is trying to focus on record profits, sold out arenas, fan interactions and all that. But as soon as you start asking him about these allegations and all that, watch him start doing the ducking and dodging and bobbing and weaving. If you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share these videos on your social media platforms. Last but definitely not least, shouts out to the LDBC. This your man. Scream at me. Hurt!